Namaskaram and welcome to episode number 102 of Daily Global Insights. Today is the February 19th and I have with me Sridhar Tityalaji, my co-host. Sridharji, welcome to PGurus channel one more time. And what do we have today for our viewers, sir?
Namaskar and good morning. We have some pretty interesting items on the domestic front. We have seen the immigration policy coming into effect. We are also going to discuss the reversal of the climate change policy that was in place. We are also going to talk about the earmarks, which is the favorite, spending bill that Democrats typically use to advocate their preferences and choices in terms of where they direct some of the funding. So we're very interesting kind of domestic, and then the global side. We have COVID, we have Iran back in the discussions, and then we have some interesting things from London that we are hearing on the China, and then on the markets and economy, we're again seeing Janet Yellen, unusual, playing a very active role in what she sees as the path forward in terms of addressing some of the economic issues.
So we start with the proposed plan of the Biden administration to legalize about 11 million illegals over a period of 8 years. And from what we have been reading about this, there is a path to normalization for those who also entered legally into the United States. So that is one point that is a bright spot in all this. So Sridharji, the Customs and Border Patrol is now saying that they see a five-fold increase in illegals trying to enter into the United States. So there is always this danger, isn't it, that as soon as the United States start talking about normalizing illegal immigration, then there's a whole surge of people coming in. How does the Biden administration plan on combating that?
It's very simple. They've already said that they made three specific announcements that are relating to the point that you're raising. One, from zero tolerance to full tolerance, the border, right? So therefore, previously there used to be anybody who is attempting will be whisked away. Now they're saying border crossing is no longer illegal and each issue will be dealt with appropriately. That's number one. Number two, they have also established an asylum officer who will dispense these issues in a very compassionate manner. It could be children left behind on the other side. It could be parents left behind on the other side. So they say that, that would be dealt with very appropriate. The third is that there seems to be a signal that has been given that those who are suffering in various parts of Central America, they would be considered. If you recall that they're, from El Salvador, from Guatemala, there's a whole set of people coming from within caravans, making their way and stopped in the Mexican border. They basically given a signal that they would consider. And they again reversed the policy of President Trump. President Trump policy was that the asylum seekers cannot be dealt with in our border. They have to go back to their respective countries and apply for the asylum in those countries. So what we are now seeing is that Biden administration effectively opening up the Pandora's box. There is an immediate visibility of that. Mr. Daniel, who is the Customs and Border Patrol chief in the Cochise County in Texas, has stated that they have seen five-fold increase in these illegals trying to enter, and unfortunately, many of them are traffickers, drug lords, criminals, all trying to make their way. So I think that there is going to be a problem that United States has to contend with.
So the Democrats might point out that the last time such an amnesty was provided, it was done under Ronald Reagan, and it was, I think, 1987 end or 1988. I was still a student in this country, and it was in the 80s. Let me say later part of the 80s, and there was no succor for all the legally admitted applicants to the United States, and there the requirement was that anyone who could prove that he or she had spent 90 days working in an agricultural farm got a green card. and this was so there is a precedent of something like this happening. So people might say, well, the last time the Republicans did it, there's no problem for that, but now when the Democrats are doing it, there is a problem. So how does one look at this from a holistic point of view? If the Democrats are also finding a way to normalize people who are on H-1Bs and so on and so forth, would that not be someone they say, okay, fine, the United States is taking cognizance of the reality and thereby acting? What are your thoughts, sir?
Well, I think comparing Ronald Reagan's, agro normalization of illegals who came in for farming and strawberry picking, etc., does not really correlate to the present kind of policy. If you are talking about the present policy being the H-1B visas, where the spouses who are ineligible to work may being asked to work, some of these things which are pending for 15, 20, 25 years in terms of normalization. These are people who are already here working, paying taxes, accelerating their path or giving one-time amnesty to convert them. That's fair. I also believe that these 11 million illegal people are here. So there is no way that these people are going to be, pushed back into wherever they are, because I think, to be fair to the Democrats, they're saying they have businesses, they have homes, and they're already working. Many of them, what you call part-time labor. So I think that the 11 million who are here and for a period of time, or people who have, unfortunately, kids left on one side of the border versus the other, or the parents, there is a rationale for accepting that as the normalization. Obama tried, but unfortunately his focus in the first term, when he had everything, was on the Affordable Care Act and the Jobs Act. So he wasted most of his capital, and he could not get it done in the second phase. This particular program, this is the what you call zero tolerance to complete tolerance, as well as the normalization of the immigration, illegal aliens. It's actually creating rumbles in the Democratic Party as well, not just the Republicans, because many of these people who have to recontest the elections in 2022, either in the House or the Senate, are going to face the wrath because this is a wide-reaching reform in terms of the transformative nature affecting these constituencies. So they believe that this is going to be problematic.
So what we have now is a situation where there are concerns across the aisle, and we must keep in mind, viewers, those of you who do not know this, that the Congress re-elects its congressmen and women every 2 years. So this is one of the challenges for them. They are in permanent election mode, because as soon as you win one, you have to raise funding for the next one, and so on and so forth. So this paves way for people to influence their decision making, and that's why we have things in the state that they are in today. So let's move on. So now several GOP senators are asking for an investigation into Cuomo's handling of COVID, and this is beginning to pick up momentum. In fact, the mayor of New York City, Bill de Blasio, I'm not 100% sure how the last name is. You can set me straight on that. He is also now beginning to make noises that perhaps Cuomo didn't do the right thing. What is happening, sir? It's your home turf.
Yeah, it's my home turf. We are very, very proud that we have a wonderful governor in Andrew Cuomo, and we have a phenomenal mayor for Manhattan in Mr. de Blasio. Always there are these kinds of subtle political rivalries or personality rivalries that exist. But the fact remains that the secretary of Cuomo has very clearly spelled out that there was either willful or deliberate miscount of the number of deaths that happened in many of the hospitals and aged care homes. The fear was that if you report those numbers, it will face the wrath and then warrant a CDC investigation. So therefore, they suppressed it. They come out, but there has been no formal what you call, there's no formal protest or there's no formal condemnation from either parties. And there is also neither a discovery process as to why it has happened and what exactly is the punishment. Very similar to what has happened in, like Capitol Hill riots and other kinds of riots that has taken place. So there's one significant kind of omission. But New York is a very deep blue liberal state, and United States are rankled by so many different issues. It is kind of what you're hearing is only the political rumble, especially around Manhattan, around New York, not Manhattan, around New York, and that's about it. It's very unfortunate if it is not investigated and the root causes not remedied.
Now, 5 out of 7 senators who voted to impeach not Clinton, Trump, are now facing censure in their respective states, and only 2 have escaped it. One is, of course, Mitt Romney, and the other one, I'm not sure. You can set me straight again here. So there is a general disapproval of the conduct of the senators who voted to impeach Trump, isn't it?
There is a general consensus, amongst the Republicans. As I think that is consistent with the polls and the general disposition towards President Trump. And amongst the Republicans, we have seen several polls point out that the election was stolen. That may not be the view of the Democrats, but at least within the Republican fraternity, that seems to be the case. So for these people to stand up and impeach, and many of the Republicans were sympathetic to the what you call the town hall that happened on that day, but they don't accept the fact that this is all kind of Republican, so therefore President Trump should be impeached, nor there is sufficient evidence provided that he did not willfully incite the riots. So therefore, they may have Democrats may come up with a very partisan investigation, come up with some kind of ruling, but it's not going to change the mindset of the people. So naturally, again, as you earlier pointed out, many of these fellows are likely to be back for House and Senate re-election. Cleverly, the guys who voted for impeachment, and who are from their respective states, one after the other, they have announced, or they had announced even prior, they would not be recontesting their Senate positions. So that it puts in context as to why they chose to do what they chose to do.
Interesting point there, and it's absolutely right. So let's take a look at what is happening in the stimulus package and a statement from Janet Yellen. First off, Speaker Nancy Pelosi thinks that next week the new stimulus package bill will be passed. It's at least 1.9 trillion, and we don't know what kind of earmarks are going to get attached to it. And she thinks that she can pass this with or without Republicans' help. Now, see, the stimulus is going to benefit everyone, including Republicans. And so my point here is that if it benefits the nation, why would the Republicans not want to vote for it? Where do you see the resistance? And if that is their resistance, what is the reason the Republicans are pushing back?
Um, Let me correct. The Republicans are not saying that they will push back on the 1.9 trillion stimulus. It has already cost them the Georgia Senate elections. And President Trump was emphatic in stating that, especially the $1,400 incremental, because the 2,000 was reduced to 600. That's how the bill was being meddled around with. So now they have brought this $1,400 back. 600 was in the 910 billion
Yes.
recovery and rescue package, R&R package. So I think that the issue is not around. I think many of them align with this 1 to 1.5 trillion dollars number that encompasses all these things that you are talking about, which is namely $1,400, $600 increase on the unemployment, child credits, 250 for this, 300 for this age group, etc. Where the contention comes is around this local administration plus some of these earmarks that were plugged in, and basically the Republicans feel this is the way by which the stimulus is being used by the Democrats to clean up mismanaged local and state administration that has overspent and their budgets are out of whack. That's where the dissent is, which is why Goldman Sachs also pointed out the stimulus package could turn out to be 1.5 to 1.6. But Democrats have stated, no way. Okay, even if it is with only 4-5 Democrats in the House, because that's the difference, five Democrats in the House, will pass the bill with 0 Republican votes. They have effectively taken out all the caveats that Republicans had put in place. That's all out. And so 1.9, as you correctly use the word, if you add the earmarks, which is very likely, earmarks is going to be back, then you're going to see this bill get close to, as I predicted, somewhere close to $2.1 trillion, but minimum 1.9.
And now Janet Yellen has sort of complemented what has been playing around in the House and Senate, saying that the stimulus is not enough. So are we looking at a scenario that there might be one more package even after this jumbo $2.1 trillion dollar package? What is Janet Yellen signaling, sir?
This, she is saying that we need another stimulus package to support more than 15 million people who are behind on their rent, 24 million adults and 12 million youngsters who do not have enough food on the table, who needs help by way of incremental stimulus. And she is saying that quite a few don't have employment. I don't know whether this later is going to include these illegal people. They have to be harmonized. So she's saying that there's a larger budget coming, which is called as the Spend and Investments Package, that encompasses addressing this specific constituency, including small businesses, by the way. She's also talking about small businesses needing more money, but including the infrastructure spend and education. Now, infrastructure we had under the Jobs Care Act in 2009 was a disaster. A lot of money, close to 1 trillion was spent. I'm not sure that 1 trillion was effectively used. So we're going to have the other kind of the pet peeve project of the Democrats on this infrastructure. Again, they may find their way to make sure some of this administration, some of the local administrations and councils are fixed as a part of that. I think as part of the education, what they're going to do, build more schools or open up free education, or I think there was also a different kind of classification of schools that are likely to come up rather than one single public school system. All this is part of the wider package that she is hinting. We have already said that this 2.1, which now makes it close to $5 trillion plus package, $5.4 trillion plus package, is now there could be another $3 to $4 trillion package coming that encompasses this infrastructure, education, clean energy, and green accord, and joining this universal what you call as the international global institutions such as WHO, UN, and so on. So all these things are coming, within the parameters of what Janet Yellen is pointing out. So we could have a huge blowout as a result of this big number that that United States is staring at.
And other news, the United States is saying it is willing to sit down and talk with Iran on the nuclear treaty that was signed. So essentially, that is one more policy reversal that the Biden administration is attempting to do. And we are going to continue to watch the the crude prices going up. I'm talking about market because we need to kind of wrap up our program today. And we also are getting news from Texas that even though power is restored, there are still many other teething problems, especially in the oil front. Sridharji, when do you think the Texas oil industry is going to get back on its feet?
The governor has stated that by February 21st, they would see the phased recovery of the not only the oil and energy industry, but the restoration of the power. The weather has been little kind, and they're able to go and service the equipment. And it's a two-phased approach. One is to fix the current problem and restore power. There's also been some report that people have died. Close to 100,000 people have died of carbon monoxide poisoning, which typically happens from some of these locations. And so he's talking about a phase. One is to fix the immediate problem, and the second is basically to come up with a long-term policy so that this is not repeated. Weathering of the pipes, testing of various equipment that is vulnerable, and making sure that they have preventive mechanisms in place. Third, I think, which is far more, is the demand-supply management. There is a belief that the demand-supply management, if people are not aware, Texas is fully deregulated, energy market. And so where, people buy power from others and distribute based on a demand-supply basis. So they feel that incremental reserves should be kept, and that condition should be put in place without sacrificing the deregulated market, and to mitigate the long-term measures. That cannot happen overnight, but that is the long-term plan that the Texas governor has been speaking about, Mr. Abbott.
Well, viewers, I have been mentioning about this. There is a new membership drive that PGurus is undertaking. When you're watching this video, just by the side of the subscribe button on the top right corner of the screen, you will see a join button, and we encourage you to join because we are going to provide additional content, additional programming that is going to be made available to members. This is information stuff that they don't teach in schools. You will benefit a lot from the information that we are giving. And I must also tell you that this program, the DGI, we're not planning on making this members only. This is a news segment. This will continue. And with your support, we can grow from here on. I am very happy to note that the rate at which subscriptions are happening has now increased. However, we are still far away from our mark of 250,000, which is our near-term goal, to reach there as quickly as possible. And we request you, if you like this program, to recommend us to recommend to your family and friends to subscribe to our channel. It doesn't cost you any money, but it does help put the word out there to many subject matter experts that here is a channel that is serious, that is centrist, as you have been noticing. Even though people keep saying that you guys are right, I don't believe we are. We are just covering news that others are not covering. That doesn't make us right wing. We are center. We are for news, and that is the goal here. Thank you very much, Sridharji. As always, a pleasure to talk to you and have you share your thoughts on this podium as we start becoming more and more of a regular fare, because now we have crossed 100 episodes. We are going to be going on marching towards the 200. You are also going to have fireside chats every so often on specific topics where we'll be bringing in some more subject matter experts. And in order for us to do that, we need your help. Please subscribe to our channel and please donate to our cause and also join our membership. As always, we will be back again next week at Monday, same time, same place. Thank you very much. Namaskar.
Namaskar, and have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Thank you.